Good morning, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm Mary with Mary Greeley News. I want to give a shout out to those of you that have bought me cups of coffee. I received notification that I got at least 3 cups of coffee to keep me going today. Thank you so much. Get some images of my garden before it was trashed by my landlord. You know, we all know not to throw our pearls to swine. Try and teach them. Those of you that follow me are not swine. That's obvious, and you're here. And I thought I would share with you what I posted on Twitter this morning. What's going on in the world. Yeah, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And many of you are prepared for what's coming. The Chinese economy is slumping greatly. Student unemployment is probably as high as 21%, and they stopped posting unemployment figures when it reached 21%. Many Chinese government officials have opened businesses here in the United States, so I thought I would share a link to a list of those that are on the U.S. Stock Exchange. Evergrande has applied for bankruptcy protection here in the United States. Evergrande, China's real estate giant, was taken off the U.S. Stock Exchange back on March 21st, I believe. Here on Reuters, it says that Evergrande sought protection under Chapter 15 of the U.S. Bankruptcy Code, which shields non-U.S. companies from undergoing restructuring from creditors that would rather sue them or tie up assets in the United States. Yeah, they got a lot of investments here in China's economy. I guess their yuan has dropped in value. The United States dollar, the fiat, is worth a lot more evidently than the Chinese yuan. I talked about before how there in China, if the President Xi thought he was going to be losing control, more likely he would be more in a rush to take Taiwan, versus if he thought he was going to stay in power until his death, then there wouldn't be a rush. Well, evidently he is losing power greatly. He's been purging a lot of people, even in his top military. The most elite force, the Rocket Brigade. Just like Mao's Little Red Book, he has now published his thoughts on socialism, and it's required reading for everybody there in China now. When Mao did his purge of top academic people, teachers, scholars, when the CCP gained control of the country, the Democratic Party fled to what is now Taiwan. And it's looking more and more like Xi is taking a page out of Mao's playbook to control the recent uprising, student uprising, people uprising, voicing against the collapse of the Chinese government. The book, a compilation of excerpts on the thought, brings together the contents excerpted from over 410 pieces of reports, remarks, explanations, speeches, talks, articles, congratulatory letters, and instructions made by Xi, General Secretary of the CCP Central Committee, between November of 2012 and this year, March of 2023. I have heard, besides being a required reading, that people there are now also required to have the book memorized. Companies that are sending parts to China for solar panels to use the cheap labor there to put them together and then to import them back into the U.S. are now going to have import duties applied to their products. The United States issued a decision last week to impose import duties on manufacturers of solar panel products who send their panels to Southeast Asian nations to be completed in a bid to avoid tariffs on Chinese-made goods, according to a senior Commerce Department official. In a report, the U.S. Commerce Department reported that Chinese companies BYD, Trina Solar, Vena Solar, and Canadian Solar avoided U.S. tariffs on solar cells and panels by finishing their products in Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam before shipping them to the U.S. market. 80% of all foreign-made solar panels comes from those countries. Another company, New East Solar, located in Cambodia, will be unable to sell their products here in the U.S. because it would not cooperate with U.S. auditors. To receive certification, solar products sold in the U.S. must contain no Chinese components. A study by the U.S. Commerce Department determined that Chinese-made solar panels were receiving unfair government subsidies, allowing them to keep their prices artificially low. The Philippines is going to resupply troops in its South China Sea after a clash with Chinese. The Philippine Armed Forces has announced their intention to once again supply troops stationed on the aged World War II air vessel positioned on a reef in the South China Sea. This followed a prior attempt fought by the Chinese to use water canyons to block the resupply. Heavy rains there in Moscow, Russia, turned into a tragedy. Evidently, they were giving tours to people to explore the underground sewers of Moscow. 3 people have died and several more remain missing after going on a tour of the Moscow sewers amid heavy rain, according to local media. I wonder what's down there that people find so fascinating and are willing to pay and risk their lives for a tour of the underground sewers. A video from British Columbia from the Adams Complex fire. There's been a lot of homes that have been destroyed and lost. Yeah, you can see here we got a fire tornado. Yevgeny Prigozhin, sorry for pronouncing that wrong, one of the bosses for the Wagner Group, evidently now is in Africa, claiming to make Africans freer. I don't have a link to the clip that Prigozhin posted. He's holding a rifle in a desert area, wearing camouflage behind him. In the distance, a truck and 2 other people were with him in camouflage. Evidently, in the video clip, he claimed justice and happiness for the African people. Let's make it a nightmare for ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other thugs. I think the only reason Putin sent him there, yeah, I believe Putin sent him there, is because of the amount of gold that Russia could take. Gas prices are rising across the country. I found an article, I believe this was from 2 days ago in Idaho. It said the average gas prices there had risen 6.2 cents per gallon in the last week. The average cost would be $4.09 a gallon. There in Canada, one of the fires, West Kelowna, a man watched his home burn to the ground through the neighbor's Ring doorbell. Over 50 structures have been lost in the McDougall Creek fire there in Canada. Despite all the evidence of the thick black smoke and the sky and images that we're seeing from Canada where it's all red and the smoke coming to the United States, they're still claiming that climate change is caused by the burning of oil and gas. According to Hawaii Emergency Management and other Maui government officials, there's still over 800 people unaccounted for. I think it's a lot more, but they're claiming it's 800. It has been suggested to print and publish a list of those that are missing, because in the past, such as the Paradise fire in California, when they did that, then they found that people that came forward who were still alive and they thought were missing. But the Hawaii Emergency Management official says they're not going to do that because they don't want to further traumatize families of those who are now listed as missing, because they may turn out to be dead. Myself, I think it's because they don't want to admit to how many children are actually missing there. When I shared this on Twitter, there was a reply saying or asking, did we get a list after 911? I think people were standing on the streets with pics of the missing, billboards everywhere with pictures and names. Well, they did release all the names, and every year they read off those names in public. I don't know. What do you think? You think they should publish a list of the missing? They did do that for the fire in California, the Paradise Fire. The camp, I think it was called the Camp Fire. You think they should publish a list of the missing? Also, I posted on Twitter a video speaking to one of the officials. Evidently, firefighting equipment is being stolen. And I'll give a link to this video. Sometimes they're being moved to maybe where they think they should be fighting the fires. I don't know. I think it's rather strange. Some of the equipment they have recovered, some they haven't. Some of the equipment includes ATVs, full of equipment, pumps that they would use for water to extinguish the fires, and even fire hoses are being moved. And then there's reports of people throwing trash at the firefighters, so I don't know what the heck is going on up there. So here's the post that I shared. It says, public urge to stop tampering with firefighting equipment. CBC News. Several sets of pumps, hoses, and sprinklers, one ATV, it was fully equipped, have gone missing in and around the community of Scotch Creek over the past 2 days. Yeah, what's going on? So you better get updated on your vaccines, because they're talking about a new variant, a highly mutated variant, showing up in multiple countries. Yeah, get ready for another lockdown. It's all about shutting down the small businesses, and all you can shop at, which would remain open, would be, places like Walmart, Costco, things like that. I guess they didn't have as many small businesses put out of business as they wanted. Another link to West Kelowna, 50 structures lost in wildfire. Tens of thousands of Canadians have fled their homes, both in British Columbia and in the Northwest Territories. Just terrible. These fires are just heartbreaking. I shared a link to another news broadcast where you can donate to help the victims there in Washington State for the Gray Fire. Yeah, it's close to Seattle. More fires. This one was in Burlington. 8 homes in Burlington were destroyed. Luckily, no one was injured. I thought it was kind of strange because some of them were still being built, under construction. Some were occupied. And as you know, China has taken over control of the Panama Canal. And they're blaming the historic drought for the backup of shipping. Many of these vessels that are waiting to get through are carrying grain that could very easily spoil as it waits in line, as they wait in line, I should say. Evidently, the line is so long to pass through the Panama Canal, the boats won't be able to get through for 2 weeks. The Panama Canal Authority has reduced maximum shipping weights and daily ship crossings in a bid to conserve water. They're claiming maritime transportation experts fear such events could become the new normal as rainfall deficits in the world's 5th wettest country spotlight climate risks affecting the ocean shipping industry that moves 80% of the global trade. Ship owners have the option of carrying less cargo, shifting to alternative routes that can add thousands of miles to the trip, or grappling with queries that earlier this month backed up 160 vessels and delayed some ships as much as 21 days. The restrictions has sent prices up for shipping costs, which is going to be pushed onto us, by 36%. What they're not mentioning here in the products that are being shipped through the Panama Canal is wood products, wood pulp, that they make your toilet paper with several years ago because of a bottleneck or whatever, delays in shipping through the Panama Canal. Yeah, toilet paper went skyrocketing in price because of the wood products that were not being shipped. Restrictions at the canal started earlier this year, affecting 170 countries, and virtually every type of good, including soybeans, liquefied natural gas from the United States, copper and fresh cherries from Chile, and beef from Brazil. You don't think this is on purpose, do you? No. Those that are controlling the canal, which is China, wouldn't be stopping U.S. natural gas or the wheat products that the U.S. sends to other countries. No, they wouldn't do that. No way. Control the food, you control the people. So that's what I have shared so far today on Twitter. What are your thoughts? Keep prepping. Yeah, things are not looking good. Always be prepared for disaster. I know you guys will. You do, that follow me here. Like I said, yeah, you can't waste your pearls on swine. Yeah, they're not going to change their mind about being prepared or keeping up what's going on globally, thinking it doesn't affect them, but it does. Once again, thank you for the coffee. Boy, I appreciate it. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you.